Hello and welcome to Merlins Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and a couple of reading recommendations I do have as well. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. And this is actually where we are going to go. As always, in alphabetical order, we will start this week with BlueBrixx, our local brand here from Germany and Central Europe. And here we have availability of a pretty old one, actually. This one was announced in the very early day when they brought to life BlueBrixx Castle. They had from the beginning this Palisade, whatever, announced. Anyhow, the 105652. And like I said, they did announce it in 2022. However, this is actually available now for the very first time, to my knowledge. Actually, this release sticker here is entirely wrong. This thing is going to cost you $40. It's 3.2 cents a piece, 4.2 cents per gram. As always, keep in mind, I keep repeating myself, in Europe that includes a tax. Yeah, here we go. So if you have a BlueBrixx Castle, and you have I've talked about this before. The BlueBrixx Castle is basically a set of sets, and you can basically extend it in a very modular way, right? You can even buy individual sets like 5 times and make this thing bigger and bigger. In theory, you're just limited by your budget and the space that you have. And however, all of this has been most and foremost in light bluish gray, so traditional castle. And this one is a reddish brown wooden kind of extension that they have created. What you see here right now on the screen is an example how this could look like. I think in here we have like 3 sets. Like I think the gatehouse is an individual set, then there's the main castle and one of the bigger towers, and now you have this reddish brown / wooden extension as well. As you can see on the color distribution map, this is most and foremost just reddish brown pieces in here. Just keep in mind, this is a BlueBrixx special. It's not a BlueBrixx Pro like the main set of BlueBrixx Castle. Means BlueBrixx is sourcing the pieces from different vendors here. So this is probably Kunlun pieces, while the BlueBrixx Pro parts of BlueBrixx Castle, that's not always the case actually with BlueBrixx Pro, is sourced by GoBrixx usually. So I think this is not an issue with the set. However, I do know that with the, let's say, light bluish gray wooden wall pieces, there was also some color deviations between the two sources of bricks, so that I think was kind of an issue, at least people told me. Here you may not have that because it's reddish brown, so it's entirely different anyhow. Moving on, a couple of announcements. Here we have the BlueBrixx wheel loader, the 107307. I guess these are sets that are sourced from a different company. So this is not BlueBrixx Pro by means their own designs and then they just source the pieces. But I rather think they just basically are relabeling an existing set. Not entirely sure where these are coming from. Somebody told me these may be from Happy Build, but I'm actually not sure. Anyhow, this thing is going to have 2,842 pieces. As always, we do not know the price point yet, because BlueBrixx will only give us prices when sets get available. However, as you can see, it includes electrification, including 4 large motors, lithium battery box, and remote control. And the same ballpark is the monster truck, the 107308 that they announced, 1,620 pieces. This thing has 4 motors again, a different battery case. That is interesting. So they may have sources from a different company. Not sure. Anyhow, this thing has 4 motors, so and as you can see this already from the wheels. So the whole idea, I think, of these, I've never actually owned a remote control car like this with this kind of wheel construction, but I think the whole idea here is that you can drift and dribble and do just strange things with this car. So yeah, quite interesting. And in the same area is also remote controlled again, also BlueBrixx Pro, the 107309. This is a Leopard 2 main battle tank, the A5 version. This thing is going to have 1,676 pieces. So this is interesting, of course, because BlueBrixx, it's a German brand, it's a German tank, and in fact they do have a German army lineup that I guess is, when it comes to modern German military, is the largest line in the entire industry from the BRICS side. but I'm pretty sure that this thing is not compatible. Actually, I do not know. They do not give us a scale here, but if I just look at the stats, this thing is bigger than the army lineup of BlueBrixx. Actually, we will talk about a few sets around this in a couple of seconds, or a couple of minutes, I should rather say. So yeah, it's from the same brand. It's the same army, but I'm pretty sure they are not compatible. The whole idea of this thing is because it's remote controlled again, and it has, by the way, 4 motors in it. The whole thing is that you can cruise around with this bad boy here. But all in all, I mean, at least on the picture, it looks pretty nice. It will be interesting to see if we are talking about stickers here or if these are actual prints. And of course, I'm really curious who is manufacturing these, because usually BlueBrixx, as always with the Pro sets, they have them manufactured by an external company. Anyhow, let's move on to a BlueBrixx Special. So that is again from their own. What they do themselves, their own design, and they call it the Irish stainless steel car. It's a 107-706. Obviously, that is a DeLorean, but BlueBrixx usually does not get any license from car manufacturers, so that's why it's an Irish stainless steel car. I'm not even sure where you can get a DeLorean license nowadays. I don't even know where it lies. Anyhow, this thing has 1,625 pieces. It's a BlueBrixx Special designed by Matteo. And yeah, here we go. Obviously, when folks hear DeLorean, they immediately think, wait a minute, where this car is actually in a pretty famous movie line, but in this case, it should look slightly different. And yes, BlueBrixx is also selling, but for that, you have to go directly to their site. I'm not listing this in the ZTB because from a license point of view, I think it's a bit problematic, but actually that is why BlueBrixx, I think, is selling these as extensions. And of course, yes, you can add a flux compensator and all this kind of stuff to this car as well if you want as an optional thing. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to the first minifigure packs that BlueBrixx is doing. We have actually 3 of them running under the BlueBrixx Special brand, the 107552. And yeah, here we go. I think they have created 3 minifigure packs at this point in time. All 3 are around the pirate kind of lineup from BlueBrixx. The 107552 is the soldiers, so that's kind of the Marines, typical British uniform of the era. I think not that much special if you look at the individual pieces that are part of this pack or part of the minifigures. It's the typical, let's say, Lego molds of the past. So cannons and you know, muskets. I don't even know if you want to call this thing a musket. Sabers, etc., etc. So pretty standard from this point of view. There are 2 cannons included, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, 8 minifigures. They are using also, I think, the same head molds that Lego has created in the past. So not that creative here. But the minifigure itself, of course, the torso, the legs, that's BlueBrixx origin design. I guess the hairpiece as well. I've talked about these minifigures in the past. I had a couple of them here. In a nutshell, they are a bit more flexible than the Lego ones. So in the hip, you can basically turn them. Next to that, the entire, basically they are not compatible to Lego minifigures except the head. So the head actually does work with the Lego minifigure and vice versa. The heads look a bit more like Friends mini dolls, just from the shape point of view, but they are actually, they work with head molds, or no, I should say head accessoires molds from Lego, like heads and hair pieces, etc., etc. So that's the whole idea, and actually that is what BlueBrixx is doing here, right? So let's move forward. In addition to the soldiers, we have also, of course, the counterpart, the pirates. The 107554, and yeah, this one has a couple of animals in it, fishes and drinking cups and glasses and a parrot and stuff like that. And again, 8 minifigures, all of them unique. Yes, there's no repeats in there. Basically all the legs, all the torsos, it's all unique. 3 of them have a hat. Well, actually, technically, it's 4 of them. 2 have hair pieces, and 1 is a bald head, which I personally, I mean, Lego is doing this from time to time as well. In fact, we're talking about a set today, which I personally find a bit ugly, but that's, I guess, a matter of taste. Okay, 8 minifigures, pirates, and then we have No, I think shit. This was the civilians, not the pirates itself. Now we come to the actual pirates. And I think these are the most interesting minifigures. Again, 8 minifigures, all of them unique in every way. I think all of them have different heads. No, not 2 have the same head, but we have different heads, different hair pieces. All of them have a unique torso and maybe even unique leg pieces, or maybe there are a couple of duplicates in there. But in general, I think very creative minifigures, look pretty nice, especially this captain here. I guess he is the captain. He has a very nice head that I at least have never seen before, and also it seems includes a print. So yeah, that's the 3 minifigure packs. In general, BlueBrixx has announced, I think, that they will do a lot of these, basically giving all their pre-existing lineups like medieval, pirates, I guess also space. I mean, they have the Star Trek license. Of course, that's something a lot of folks are waiting for. So I think they intend to bring minifigures for everything they have done before. So let's see. Anyhow, with that, we're moving forward to 2 availabilities. And this is, again, the Bundeswehr German Army lineup. And here we have 2 availabilities. First of all, the main battle tank M48A2. From the German Army, the 107047. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. I should have double checked. I mean, obviously, this is the American M48. So when the German Army was basically in the early 50s after Second World War, basically allowed by the Western forces to basically rearm itself in order to counter the Soviet threat and became part of NATO, etc., etc. I think the initial lineup of military equipment was actually provided by the United States. So I'm not sure if the initial setup of tanks was already the M48 or if they started with Shermans or something older like that. Not actually sure, but it is, of course, from the early days. We're talking about the 50s, I guess, here with the M48. So that's why we have an American M48, but with basically, German... or the German signs, and of course after that Germany developed the Leopard, and after the Leopard came the Leopard 2. So these and this is the main battle tank of the German army forces to this day. Anyhow, this set is in the 1/30 scale, so that's typical for this BlueBrixx lineup. I always keep repeating that because keep in mind these things are not compatible from a size point of view to anything that Cobi does, which is a bit unfortunate. I would have preferred if BlueBrixx would have done that slightly differently. Anyhow, this thing has 1,388 pieces. You can open the interior, so you can remove the tower, or the turret, I should rather say, and you can access the engine, which is more than most Cobi sets do, which I think is great. We have everything is pad printed in here, as always, in this line. And yeah, BlueBrixx is asking for just $50. That's 3.6 cents a piece. That's pretty good. That's even better than most Cobi sets. Obviously, piece quality usually cannot compete with Cobi. These are, I guess, Xingbao pieces. With that, we're moving on to the 107048, the mine flail tank Keiler, the German nickname for this one, as it has 1,295 pieces, again 1/30 scale, and BlueBrixx is asking for $45, 3.5 cents a piece, and yes, like it says in German, Minenräumpanzer, so obviously the job of this thing is to remove mines. Using these chain flails, basically. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to Jaki, and here we have the actually new set that I've seen first in with a Chinese retailer, the Lily Flowers on the 2695. Actually, I do not know the piece count. It's actually nowhere printed on here. Maybe we can figure this out at a later point in time. But yeah, I mean, it's a set of lilies, and you can buy them in China for around $25. I guess this depends a bit on the shipping costs where you are living, but I think $25 includes shipping to Europe at least. And with that, we're moving on to 2 more Cobi fighter jets, in this case the Tornado, which I think was a collaboration between Germany, Italy, and Great Britain back in the day. They may have joined other countries, maybe part of the consortia that actually developed it. Panavia actually is the name. Anyhow, we have 2 more versions here. First, we have now, you can now pre-order this thing in Europe for $40 at Bricmo, Austrian retailer. And this one is the Royal Air Force version, to my knowledge, the MiG Eater, which is a Pretty cool name, by the way. And yeah, the Tornado was both a fighter jet as well as a bomber. And this thing here has 527 pieces, 2 minifigures, no stickers, as is typical for Cobi. This is a 1x48 scale fighter jet. I think I've talked about other variants. I think all in all, Cobi is doing, I think, 4 Tornadoes. As part of this. No, it's just 3. Okay, I've talked about one of those before, and now we have the other 2. So this is the MiG Eater from the Royal Air Force, and then we have the IDS variant, the Electronic Warfare variant, and it's the German version, so German Luftwaffe 5853. And again, you can buy this thing for 40 euros, or at least pre-order it over here in Europe. 493 pieces, 2 minifigures. And technically, the only difference between all of these is the color. However, sometimes Cobi, in order to arrange with the printing and everything, they have a slightly different piece count from time to time. Plus, the armament is slightly different between these. And I actually don't know. I've seen a couple of German fighter jets also in reality. I've never seen them in this color. It's more, I don't know, blue. Cobi went here for a very light blue, but in my point of view, usually German Luftwaffe uses more like a gray tone. But I think it's a very light, almost bluish gray tone, so I guess that makes at least some sense. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to Funhole, and here we have availability of the new stand, the new set, the 9023. This is again one of the smaller ones, only 556 pieces. I've actually mine here already. I do intend to build it in the next couple of days. There are some rumors that what you see here are mostly prints, but because I haven't opened my box, I can't confirm, but I will be able to do so. And I guess I will also publish a short view on this one. And yeah, it looks pretty beautiful, nice lighting. I always like these lampposts that they are using. Basically, they are also using these in their light-tailing kits. So light-tailing and BlueBrixx are more or less from the same company. And the great thing is that these are hollow. So basically, the cable is in the light stand or in the lamppost, which is pretty cool. And something you cannot do with the typical Lego retrofit solution, because the Lego lampposts are not hollow. And so you can't bring a cable through these. And usually, for instance, if you buy a Lumibricks or BlueBrixx kit, a retrofit kit that does not bring its own lampposts, but actually wants you to reuse the ones from Lego, basically you have to wrap the cable around it, which never looks as nice. So that's why I think this is a much better solution. But yeah, again, looking forward to building this one. It looks pretty nice and should look quite nice in almost every city. There's a minifigure included. And yeah, that's basically it. With that, we're moving on to Lego. Quick word up front. So first of all, in general, I mean, obviously Lego is now publishing basically all the sets for the first quarter of next year. So we are talking about dozens and dozens of sets, right? Because all the small city and creators 3-in-1 and friend sets are in there. I cannot talk about everything. However, if you look into SetDB, both into basically here in the, for instance, in the newly added piece of sets, newly added sets list, I should rather say, or in newly available, etc., of course, or you just go into brands and Lego, you will find all of this stuff, right? But it's a lot, and I cannot talk here in the show about everything. So first of all, I want to split it between this week and next week, first of all, and second, even then, I'm filtering down a bit, like the ones that I personally consider the most interesting, especially the larger ones. But yeah, just keep that in mind. But as always, this SetDB has all the information. And in fact, tonight Lego published a lot more. So this should show up in the next couple of hours in SetDB as well. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on, and let's get started. And we are starting first with the 76428, one of my favorites actually, Hagrid's Hut, an unexpected visit. So this thing has 896 pieces. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minifigures. At least 2 pets are included. And yeah, I mean, look for your region for the list price. I will just, at this point in time in Europe, it's at $75, in the US as well. Yeah, what's to say? What I like about it? First of all, of course, the color scheme is quite nice. I mean, Hagrid's Hut has always, has always been great from that point of view. There's a lot of light and dark bluish gray in there. We have a little bit of sand green, dark green ingots. I've never seen these before. I'm not sure if they are new. So this is pretty cool. Hagrid, of course, as a figure is amazing. Could also be quite interesting for in other scenarios. Like, I mean, he's a small giant, right? So in fact, I do intend to get my hands on this figure also for other scenarios, like what I do with high fantasy stuff. In my mock building, the dog is quite nice. The small dragon is really beautiful. But what I really like the most is that this is a Harry Potter playset where you actually have a building, right? I mean, that is, from my point of view, to this day, the biggest issue of Harry Potter and Friends, from that matter, and City as well, that Lego has moved away from real buildings and instead, right, moved into these, I don't know, facades, basically, of their building, which is okay for kids to play with, but usually makes them, for me personally, quite uninteresting. This thing here is more like a Creator 3-in-1 building, typically, by means, okay, it's a full building, but you can open it up as an alternative, which is great. This is exactly how they should do it, in my point of view. In fact, I would prefer if every Lego City, Friends, Ninjago, whatever set could do this, by means, okay, you can close it, you have a real building, you can open it up, you can play with it. That is the way to go. Anyhow, they did a wonderful job here. Plus, what I also really like is what is coming with this new Harry Potter wave is these collectible portraits, pictures. They have done this before. I mean, this is not new, right? We had golden figures. They do this in Ninjago from time to time. And I think 2 years ago in that wave, we had these purple collectible 2x2 tiles, which, you know, from my point of view, were a complete waste of my time because, I mean, yes, you could collect them, but what are you going to do with it? Here, now, I mean, obviously, based on the box, I do not know how good the print is, how nice it looks, but definitely the idea here is, because they have put it into the building themselves, the idea here is that you can actually put it on the wall. So there is some use into it, right? You can use them in a MOC, you can put them into your other Harry Potter buildings. So for instance, in this set, you have 2 of these bad boys. One is in Hagrid's hut, as you can see, and the other one you can put in one of your older Harry Potter sets and make them more beautiful, and maybe throw out a couple of ugly stickers and have a printed Nexonite shield in there as well. So that's a great idea. That is exactly what they should do. If you have collectible stuff, that's awesome, but it should have some use as well. And this is what they did here. So yeah, there's nothing that I don't like about the set. I mean, the price obviously is a bit ridiculous, but I mean, it's okay. I mean, I've seen worse. I mean, Harry Potter can get more expensive than that. However, keep in mind, these are very small pieces as far as I can tell, right? There's a lot of ingots, 1x1 tiles, stuff like that in there. So the price, by means of price per piece, I think it's not as good as it looks like. Nevertheless, as you can see, I've set and set to be an availability alert because I definitely intend to build this one. Like I want to build this one here, the Forbidden Forest, Magical Creatures. I'm sorry, my English is not the best this morning. I think I guess it's never really good, but hopefully good enough for you to understand what I'm trying to say. The 76432 has 172 pieces only, and BlueBrixx, Lego, of course, is asking for $30 in the US and Europe. That's 17.4 cents a piece. That's crazy, of course, almost 4+ territory. But of course, it's about the animals. There are 2 minifigures included. I mean, the minifigures are pretty standard, but you have a lot of beasts and animals, and I totally forgot what they are called. But I mean, you even have a glow-in-the-dark spider in here. Actually, there's a lot of glow-in-the-dark pieces, which I think is great. I really need more of these. So you have a lot of these mushrooms. And then you have a glowing spider, which I've been told that this is not really new. Lego has done these before, but I mean, how cool is a glow-in-the-dark spider? I'm so excited. I definitely intend to buy a couple of these. And yeah, and then you have the other beasts, 1, 2, 3, 4 in addition. And yeah, I think it's really great. And it's just about them. I mean, everything else in this set is not that interesting. The minifigures are not interesting. The build itself is as simple as you can get, I would argue. Blue limb elements is always nice, but next to that, I think it's not an interesting set. But you have a couple of cool animals in there. And I would argue, I don't know, it could be cheaper to go. I'm not even sure if you can buy these animals or monsters, I should rather say, in Pick-a-Brick at Lego on the Lego side, and if so, if they are really getting any cheaper. So I'm pretty sure buying the set is the way to go. But anyhow, let's move on to another interesting one. That is kind of a mix. So this is the Hogwarts Castle oh god, that's a complicated word. Owlery. Anyhow, it's a tower with a lot of owls. That's the goal. 76430. It has 364 pieces, and Lego's asking for $45 in Europe and the US. However, in Europe, that always means including tax. Keep that in mind. We are lucky ones over here. Anyhow, we have 3 minifigures and we have a ton of birds in there. I mean, I think, let me count on this page. So first of all, we have a rat, of course, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 owls. I think 6 owls. It's a lot for sure, and they look all amazing. Plus, you have here all the minifigures are like in quotes civilians here. So basically that means you can use them also in other contexts. You have Cho Chang in here, Harry Potter, and Argus Filch, I think is his name. And like I've said before, Lego from time to time is also doing these bold headpieces and bold headpieces, right? And it looks awful, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen worse, but at least the headpiece and the head itself has the same skin color, which some other manufacturers I've seen also are not really able to, don't manage to do this. So this at least we have, but nevertheless, basically the gap between the hairpiece in quotes and the head itself, I don't know. I think these things look scary. They have like a Frankenstein appeal. Anyhow, the building itself is again only a facade, i.e. it's not closed on the back, which I think is a real missed opportunity. Like I've said before, I don't like this in general. However, I mean, a tower is always a nice thing to have in a closed version. On the other hand, I do understand, because this way you can at least use the inside a little bit. You have one of these collectible portraits in there. By the way, the magical creatures thing does not seem to have one. No, it's not on the box, so keep that in mind. I mean, for $30 they could have thrown this in, right? Anyhow, the owlery, it's an awful word, does have one. In general, the build itself I do really like. I mean, it has a pretty high price per piece, but keep in mind there's a lot of panels and large cones in there, etc. It's usually always Lego ask for premium if they throw these in, plus they have all these printed animals. So yeah, from this point of view, this could be an interesting set. And yes, I mean, this is a Harry Potter wave in a pretty long time that I'm actually personally really interested in, usually to get my hands on the pieces. But Hagrid's hut is really amazing in so many ways. And I think that also in Hagrid's hut, there are a couple of building techniques maybe interesting to learn from. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to the castle boathouse, which personally I think is the most boring one. Lego's asking for this 350 pieces for $37. Both in the 38 even, both in Europe as well as in the US. By the way, as always, ZTB also has British prices and Canadian prices. Not Australia, but I'm actually working on this to get the Australian Lego shop integrated as well. At least I've asked Lego here. Anyhow, let's take a look at this. I mean, this is mostly driven by the minifigures, also the price. You have 5 minifigures in there, and of course, Professor McGonagall is in a really amazing variant. I'm pretty sure these are new prints. At least, I mean, I'm not so deep in Harry Potter, but I can't recall having seen this one before. And this is really an amazing print. Usually, I'm not the biggest fan of these skirt pieces because basically, the minifigure doesn't have much flexibility compared to the legs. But I can understand, it makes sense. And it looks really beautiful over here. But next to that, we have just, again, 4 kids in the typical uniform dress up, if you will, which personally I think is quite boring. I mean, how many of these black Harry Potters and Hermione's we have, right? Like hundreds. So personally, I don't find it that interesting. But the building itself is quite nice. And you have, again, a portrait tile included as well. The boats are as simple as you can get. I mean, this is, I guess, the most simple construction I've ever seen in a boat by Lego. And yeah, I mean, the building itself is not that interesting. So from my point of view, I mean, McGonagall is amazing. You have one of these printed tiles in there, but next to that, $38. I think the 3 previous ones are much more interesting. Same issue I have with this one a little bit. This is Hedwig at 4 pivot drive, the 76425, 337 pieces, and Lego is asking for 20 bucks, which looks on the surface quite nice. But I mean, in the nutshell, I'm not even sure if any prints are in here. I guess you get a couple of pieces and a couple of stickers. That's basically it. It's quite simple. But yes, I mean, if you always wanted to have this bird in your living room or your office or wherever you have this, and you don't want to buy the more expensive, larger one, then I guess this one is for you. Personally, I find it a bit boring. And then we have the Flying Fort Anglia. That is the 76424. It has 165 pieces, 2 minifigures, 2 animals, and Lego was asking for 15 bucks. I think the main missed opportunity here is that this is, as far as I can tell, a 6-stud car. So that is like the Speed Champions used to be in the old days, right? And the problem has always been, and I personally guess that's the reason why Lego has actually switched with Speed Champions to 8 studs. You can basically just throw 1 minifigure in. There's not enough space for 2 minifigures, and that is exactly the problem that this car has. I'm not sure if Lego has this window piece in the 8-stud variant. This could be the reason, or maybe they were just cheaping out. I'm not so sure, but in a nutshell, this is a 6-stud car. You cannot put both of the boys in. I mean, maybe they have come up with some fancy technique, because these are actually kids minifigures, so you have to remove the legs anyhow. So maybe because the legs are missing, they found a way you can actually not see this on the picture, but I'm almost 100% sure that you can only throw in one of the two figures, which is really a missed opportunity. The other thing is there is a 6x6 tile on the roof. We get only rendered pictures, so we cannot see what exactly this tile is. If it's the typical Lego 6x6 tile, which is a ugly piece. I mean, it's almost next to the 8x16 tile, it's the ugliest piece that Lego makes. And so I think these are 2 issues. Nevertheless, the design itself, I think, is quite nice. A lot of interesting snot technique. Actually, even more interesting than some Speed Champions are. So from that point of view, that's cool. But yeah, from my point of view, I would have loved to have this thing as an 8-stud version where you can throw in both of the kids, maybe even have a decent back seat. This would be amazing. But yeah, from my point of view, slightly too small. On the other hand, it's just 15 bucks, which is cheaper than most Speed Champions. Speaking of such, we are coming now to the new lineup of Speed Champions. By the way, I should have mentioned all of these Harry Potter sets are March 1st sets, the same as the Speed Champions are. So we are first starting with the BMW M4 GT3 and M Hybrid V8 race cars, the 76922. So this is a combi pack of 2 Speed Champions, and as always in these times, Lego is asking for 50 bucks. Actually, that's in Europe. In the US, you pay only 45. That's very rare that we have that situation, that you pay less in the US, but here we go. And yeah, what's to say about it? So first of all, in general, I mean, the highlight are the tires, which are slicks as far as I can tell, which is amazing. And the low light are the million bazillion stickers. And oh my God, I think there's nothing printed on these sets. Even this white tire, you can see clearly this is also a sticker. So this is all stickers. At least the headlights are brick built, so from that point of view, you don't need the stickers. From a functional point of view, the car should look complete. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure it looks really ugly without the stickers. I'm not sure. I definitely tend to build them, so I can then say more, but at this point in time, yeah, I'm just not sure around how this thing is going to look without the stickers. Anyhow, so we have the M4. So that's a car that I think you can basically buy, right? The M4 GT3, I guess there's something you can buy. The V8 is an endurance race car, and I think it will start next week. Next year, I'm sorry. So I think the V8 hybrid is the endurance race car from BMW for the next season, I think. The or let's say what really looks pretty cool is the window here on the V8. This seems to be a printed piece, while you on the M4 you have to put a sticker on, even on the window, which is awful. Not unheard of. I mean, that's typical Speed Champion, but nevertheless, it looks quite awful. What I'm not sure around this curved slope here. I cannot say 100% if this is actually a sticker or print. Obviously, if Lego would do in BMW M Motorsport print, just one would be amazing for so many projects. So I really, hold your thumbs. This could be a print, at least on this picture. No, I'm wrong. On this picture here, you can clearly see it's a sticker. Oh, okay, that was my only hope. So this set is basically 50% let's build some bricks, and 50% is let's glue some stickers on. It's awful. Anyhow, the minifigures look pretty cool though. With that, we're moving on to the Audi S1 e-tron. I think this has been in a couple of very famous videos that Audi did together with Ken. What is his last name again? Anyhow, I'm not so much into cars, but I guess those petrol heads know what I'm talking about. So this thing is pretty famous. I think from the design perspective, it reminds, of course, like in the good old Quattro days from Audi. And anyhow, let's talk about the Speed Champion itself. We do have a printed window here, which looks great. We have a ton of stickers, and I'm not sure about the tires or the wheels here. I'm pretty sure this should be printed, right? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Next to that, the overall shape I think is pretty cool. A couple of interesting building techniques in there. In general, I think the shape is also very well done. I really like the spoiler in the back. And I don't know, I've never seen this wedged curved. I guess it's a curved slope in a wedged form. This red one here where you see the e-tron sticker on, which looks really, really cool in this car. So all in all, from a brick design perspective, really amazing. Great minifigure. I mean, you have an Audi e-tron minifigure here, hip printed, legs printed. I mean, most Star Wars minifigures can't keep up with that. So pretty cool minifigure, nice design, at least some prints, at least the window is printed. And I also think that this central, I don't know, this is not a slope, right? This is a panel. I'm not sure. Anyhow, this central hood or bonnet looks printed as well, because basically you can't sticker these. So with these two printed pieces, I think this car will already look amazing. So from that point of view, I think this could be a really cool Speed Champion. And as you can see, again, I put an availability alert on ZTB because I do intend to build this one. And I should have mentioned $27. So that is what I was talking about. So 27 here and just 15 with the Harry Potter car. That's the big difference. And from a price per piece perspective, obviously this makes this one here much worse, right? 9.9, and on the Harry Potter side, I mean, not much, 9.1. But it has 100 pieces less. On the other hand, you have two animals, you have a license, of course, and you have two minifigures instead of one. However, the minifigures do not have as much value put in as the Speed Champion one. But here you go, that's the difference. And then we have again a Ford Mustang, and I think this is the first one in the 8-stud era of the Speed Champions, the 76920. The Ford Mustang Dark Horse sports car. I guess Dark Horse is a special version, not sure. Very few stickers. In a nutshell, you can get rid of all of these, you don't need them. I mean, of course, I would have liked to have the pony as a print, but next to that, ignore the stickers, which is really cool that we have on the bonnet or hood. Some interesting building techniques, basically snot technique. I think I've never seen that from Lego before, which is really, really cool. And next to that, I overall like the shape and form. I mean, it's a Ford Mustang. It's a car that excites a lot of folks in reality, but in practice it's actually a pretty boring design, right? I mean, it's basically like a box, right? It looks like a shoebox on wheels, but all in all, I think pretty nice job. What I think is really the minifigure looks pretty cool as well. She has a really cool hairpiece that I at least have never seen before. However, no printed hips, no printed legs, which is a missed opportunity. That's a bit unfortunate. And yeah, personally, I also would have preferred a Ford print and not just Mustang, but that's just me. Anyhow, $27, 7.8 cents a piece, because they needed 344 pieces due to the more complex building techniques they used here. Anyhow, looking forward to this one as well. Then we have an availability, the Tiny Plants, the 10329 from the Botanical Collection. We already, yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about this one before. It's now available. As you can see at this point in time, only exclusive at Lego itself, but a couple of other shops or vendors are starting to list these as well. So this will go to retail. We have already reviews online from a couple of recognized fan media outlets, Jay's Brick Block and New Elementary I've listed here. So yeah, I mean, I've talked about these before, 6.6 cents a piece. $50 both in the US as well as in Europe. And West Europe, I mean, of course, European Union, UK is there as well. And yeah, here we go. Planted pots availability. And then Lego announced another set of the Botanical Collection. Came as a bit as a surprise to me, the Bouquet of Roses. My apologies. Need some coffee. Just a second. 10328. This thing has 822 pieces, gonna cost you $60, and that's 7.3 cents a piece. And yeah, it's a bunch of roses. As far as I can tell, if I'm not miscounting, you have 3 different variants of roses, or 3 different building techniques. All in all, it's, it's 6, 14, 16 roses as far as I can tell. And yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I find them boring in reality, and their roses are not getting that, or red roses, or bouquet of red roses is not getting that much more interesting brick build. So from my point of view, so far the most boring one. I mean, it looks classy, right? I mean, red roses always are. And of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks will buy these around Valentine's Day, right? If your friend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever you may call it, is actually into bricks, or you want to get your partner into brick building, this could be the way to go. I mean, I've tried this with my wife, but she clearly signaled me, no brick build, no brick build flowers, please. I want real ones. So yeah, I gave up on this one, but you may have an opportunity here. And with that, we're moving on to another set that is available. That's the Ideas Orient Express Train, the 21344. Lego is still selling these for $300 in Europe and the US. Actually, mine is on its way. Lego has a new logistics provider over here in Europe, and I don't know, since they did this, things all over the place. First of all, the packaging is by far not as good as it used to be, which is awful. But what is more interesting is like delivery times. So for instance, I think I've talked about this last week, not sure, the new modular building, which came also out September 1st, actually arrived 10 days early or 8 days early. So I pre-ordered it and it came more than a week earlier than 1st of December, the official release date, which I've never seen before with Lego. And on the other hand, the Orient Express is somewhere driving around in Europe because, yeah, it takes a lot longer than it should be. Anyhow, because I clicked one day rush and I actually paid for it, but Lego needs now several days to ship this thing. So yes, clearly things are not in order in Europe. But yeah, let me know in the comments for all you Europeans how the situation is for you. But at least for me, things are not as they used to be, and unfortunately not in a good way. Anyhow, the Orient Express now available is $300. Nothing has changed here. And with that, we're moving on to Spider-Man's mask. I think also a surprise to some folks compared to the Bouquet of Roses, which, no, it's also January 1st. So this is a quick one. Speed Champions are March 1st. Marvel Spider-Man's mask 76285 is also January 1st. Has only 487 pieces. That's not much, I think, for a head in quote set. I've built only one from Star Wars, so I'm not really that much into these. But I think 487 doesn't sound much. It's Lego's asking for $70 though. That's 14.4 cents a piece. And I guess the reason is that we have very large panels here in the front, and they are all pad printed. I mean, not all, the large ones are pad printed. So I guess that's the reason. Very large pieces and printed with that. The plug itself is also printed, but you also have stickers on the side. I mean, it looks nice here, but always keep in mind that Lego is not shy of using a little bit of photoshopping to make sure that the color deviations are not a problem. We have seen this with Star Wars sets, I just remember minifigure problems. in the gunship, for instance, right? Fox, awful white on red print, and you couldn't see this on the official Lego pictures because clearly they are using Photoshop or something like that. So, long story short, it may definitely be that the red sticker here has a different color than the red pieces because, let's be honest, that's usually the situation at Lego. And you cannot see this here, but this could be just a trick of the Lego marketing team, which I think is a bit unfortunate. Anyhow, I do not actually know. Of course, this is just guessing. With that, we're moving on to Friends, and I think I have to speed up a little bit. I talk too much. And here we have Franz Andreas Modern Mansion, the 42639, 2,275 pieces for Friends set, and Lego is asking for $200. That's 8.8 cents a piece, which I guess is okay. It's typical Lego, but nevertheless, it means you have a 200 euros, dollars, whatever set for, and it's technically still a kit set. However, speaking of such, boy, is this an amazing design. I'm really, really liking this one. Obviously, I would have preferred to have this one not as a Friends play set for $200, but an actual architecture set. But yeah, I mean, there's so much great stuff to find here. I mean, there are amazing building techniques, amazing individual designs. I mean, just look at the windows here, how they did this with all the colored glasses that are usually, a garage door. Then the centerpiece, the central cone, whatever you may call it, and there it's great design. So like I said, this could be an amazing architecture set. I mean, of course, you're right, not exactly like this, but the idea is amazing. Great building techniques, a lot of building fun, not so many panels. I mean, a lot of windows, but I mean, of course, Friends sets are usually just a bunch of panels, and this thing here there's a lot of brick build stuff in here. A lot of interesting snot building techniques if you look at the rock work. We have now a lime colored a leaf piece here, the new one, the new Farn piece that when I think it was introduced with Rivendell, right? I mean, I keep joking that Lego designers just love this piece, so they throw this in every set. So this is here now a lime piece to create the palm trees. It's all amazing. I mean, I could, from my point of view, they could lose the car, which is a 6-star car, so why not? But it's the building itself. So much detail in here. Also, if you look at the inside, tiled floors. I mean, modular buildings are not getting this. I mean, Natural History Museum, the upper floor is so boring. And now look in here and look at these amazing pieces, the amazing building techniques. Also here, if they look at this pink light nougat work here on the floor, on the tiled floor, is amazing. I mean, yes, it is not a full-fledged building. I've talked about this half an hour ago. By means it's a play set, but in general, I really like this set. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, yes and no. I mean, it has an awful color scheme. It's a Friends set. It's for kids to play with. Yes, that's not for me, but what the Lego design team has done here is just amazing for a kid set in this size. With that, we're moving on to Ollie and Paisley's Family Houses, the 42620, 1,126 pieces, $100, which is, I guess, similar price per piece ballpark. Yeah, it's almost the same to the Andreas Modern Mansion. And again, great work here by the Lego design team, especially the right house. I actually don't know if it's Ollie's or Paisley's, but the yellow one looks really amazing. It looks like a 50s piece of art, piece of architecture, right? Which is really amazing. Again, the color scheme is awful, of course, but the brick build design is amazing. Trees, we have I think this is a new piece here. These tree pieces in purple, I think they are new. Not 100% sure. I don't build that many kit sets, but personally, I don't like it. Personally, I prefer like a more traditionally built tree work, basically using limb elements and leaves and stuff like that. But yeah, here we go. It's for sure something new. And yeah, all in all, great design. Not that much. It's not as exciting as the Modern Mansion is, but nevertheless, pretty cool design. And this one here is much more traditional. The Hot Lake City Hospital, I would argue, the 42621, 1,045 pieces, $100 again. Yes, it feels larger because I actually don't know why. I guess it's using larger pieces, not that many panels, but large pieces for sure. It has a small Technic mechanism for the elevator, which is great. And yeah, but on the other hand, it's a much more traditional Friends building like we are used to. With that, we're moving on to the 42619, the Popstar Music Tour Bus. Actually, my daughter is not really that much into Friends anymore. That's why I'm not up to date with the current plot, if you will. But I guess, yeah, having rock concerts is, I guess, part of the current story because we have multiple sets in this area. 845 pieces, $85, 10 cents a piece. Personally, I think I don't recall what the set was named, but in quotes, the predecessor for me was like this large motorhome that they have done in the past, which I found personally much more exciting. However, right, every kid wants to be a star, so this could be the right thing. Not sure, actually. Like I said, my daughter is not into that much anymore. Unfortunately, because I always liked what the Friends team was doing over at Lego. So much cooler than what the City team does. Anyhow, here we go with the tour bus. And then we have also a stage, of course, the Hot Lake City Music Talent Show, the 42616, 669 pieces, 65 euros / dollars in the US. And yeah, it's a stage. Every kid wants to be a rock star, but personally I find it quite boring. However, you could also, that is a cool thing, I guess. When you have a stage like this, you could use it for different purposes, right? This could be a fashion show or something like this as well. So yeah, here we go. You can organize your own rock concert. And then Friends is going into space. This is interesting. Actually, Lego is doing a ton of space stuff, right? We get a new wave. I will talk about this next week, but we will get a new wave of City space sets, which I personally are not as good as the current ones, but that's just me. And I'm also in Technic. I think we're getting a lot of space. I think there's even some space still in Creators Arena 1 and now even in Friends. So Lego is going to space. That's, I guess, the message. 42605, 981 pieces. $90, that's a lot of money, but what is really cool, we have these TransClear large, I don't even know what they're called, panels, I guess they are. Which is really, really cool. I mean, we don't see them that often. We had them, of course, in the beautiful botanical garden from Friends, but also I think they were originally introduced in one of the space sets. I think the space station, I'm not really sure. No, I think it was the ground station with the rocket, right? In Lego City. And this is an amazing piece. I think there's so much awesome stuff that you can do with this. In a science fiction context, I think these will make a lot of MOCs much cooler, and it's great to have them in here. Next to that, I mean, yes, we have a small station and we have a rocket, and it's all very colorful. It's all pink, and the astronauts look like, I don't know, like a 50s science fiction movie. But yeah, here we go. I mean, it's a lot of modularity. I think that is great, right? You can basically, change a lot of stuff. For instance, the midsection of the rocket, you can remove and make this part of the base, which is amazing. So from that point of view, there's a lot of playability in here. But yeah, it's $90 for not such a big set. And with that, we're moving out of Lego into a couple of Chinese brands. TaiGaoLe, here we have now availability in Asia, or actually I'm seeing the set for the very first time. The sunflower, it's actually a potted sunflower, which I'm not sure if actually does exist. I don't know, I guess you can put a sunflower in a pot, right? Like a small one. 92039, that is for sure. I do not know the piece count, but I do know it's going to cost you in China in this case, including original box even. And TaiGaoLe is making beautiful boxes for their flower sets. You can purchase this bad boy for $30. And from Sembo, we have the Joyful Persimmon in a Jubilee edition, 605037. This is actually an announcement from a German retailer that they will have this thing in stock. In this case, a BlueBrixx again, 921 pieces. And yeah, we do not know that much. Personally, I'm not really sure what all of these printed, what this print here means on the vase, I guess it is. Persimmons, I mean, that's a tree, so I'm not sure if you can even put this in a pot, but nevertheless, it's very colorful, and it's a Jubilee edition for whatever reason. And then we're moving on to TaiGaoLe. Here we also have a couple of announcements, again, from, in this case, a European retailer. 5041, an SUV in silver metallic. I mean, it's always very hard to get an actual name for these TaiGaoLe sets, but yeah, I'm not that into this, but I guess it's supposed to be a Lamborghini Urus, right? It's a 1x8 in a static version. I mean, 3,456 pieces. That's not too shabby. Pretty large Technic set, but it's nothing against this one here, the 54.6. In this case, the retailer called it just Sports Car and Lime. I guess that's a Lamborghini as well, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not really a petrolhead. But 6,628 pieces. Whoa, it's a 1x6 Technic car. This thing is 68 centimeters in length, 36 width, and 18 in height. So yeah, this thing is huge, has a ton of pieces. Couple of interesting features as well, right? Including chassis lifting, which is always cool. Hand of God steering, stuff like that. And yeah, it's enormous, gigantic. Technic set. With that, we're moving to a couple of reading recommendations. We published in the last couple of days 3. I mean, we published a lot more, but 3 are, from my point of view, at least new ones. The other ones are just translations from reviews we have done in the past on our German side. So these 3 are new. First of all, I took a look actually at the 60348 Lego Lunar Roving Vehicle. And yeah, I don't build city that much, but this one is actually pretty cool, I do believe. First of all, I really like the astronauts. Like I said, the new city sets that Lego just announced for space, I don't really like the astronauts. Too much color from my point of view. These here have a kind of hard fiction, almost realistic vibe, right? Lego is working here with the Artemis program. Really like these ones. What my personal favorite are actually the wheels, because these, I think it's 12 wheels overall, and cruising around with this bad boy is just so much fun. It was really, really cool. Really like to build it. Minifigures are amazing. The astronauts, I mean, Lego even, went the extra mile. I mean, obviously they have these enormous backpacks. I'm pretty sure they are not called backpacks when astronauts use them, but still they printed the back of the torso and everything. So really, really cool. Great stuff. I also like this whole diamond thing. Not really sure. I guess the idea is they are looking for water on the moon. Yeah, like I said, not 100% sure. But all in all, a real cool design, a lot of play features. And yeah, like I said, cruising around with this one is really so much fun. Great set. And then we took a look at the Mold King F40. So obviously that is supposed to be a Ferrari, but as always, Mold King doesn't have a license. And it's actually the Ferrari F40, of course, an absolute classic from the 80s, I do believe. Yeah, it's from 1987. It's one of the biggest Ferrari classics, I guess. What is interesting on this one, that they are not using the standard piece to build an 8-stud car, but instead it's brick built entirely, which I think is really cool. And I think the first time I've seen that myself, really, really amazing work by Mold King. But I mean, it's a sticker heavy set. And personally, I've never been a fan of 80s sports cars. With that, we're moving on to a review that Stone Garden has written for us. It's about the Japanese style canteen from Kada 66014. And yeah, I mean, it's a great set. The only issue, I mean, first of all, like always with these small Kada buildings, they are very sticker heavy. So keep that always in mind. You have to put a lot of stickers on. So I'm pretty happy that Stone Garden did the work here, because I would not have wanted to do this. But what is, I think, a bit of a mishap here, or what didn't work out that well, is the lighting. Always Kada puts in a standard lighting. It's like a USB stick with a couple of LEDs connected to it into these sets, which is great. They've done this in the past, but the issue here is basically the roof, the upper floor, and the ground floor. They are all connected to the same cable, which basically means if you throw in the lighting, the entire building loses its modularity, which is unfortunate. Plus, of course, I mean, getting these cables through the bricks is not always easy. So yeah, she had quite some issues there with the lighting, is my understanding. But nevertheless, here you go. With that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week. We have to go fast. And here, Trains with Knights, I think I talked about a MOC from this designer last week, has now created of his locomotive also a dark blue version. Obviously, the idea is here that this thing goes along with the new Orient Express cars. which I think looks pretty cool. I'm not sure. Actually, this is, of course, the Lego version, and a lot of folks are complaining that the locomotive is not big enough, which has been an issue with Lego trains for quite a while. And basically, Trains with Light is arguing here, hey, look at this. This looks a lot better. Personally, I think that this locomotive looks slightly too big, while the Lego one looks slightly too small. But yeah, it's just me, and I'm also not that much into trains. Anyhow, 1,715 pieces for this MOC, and Trains with Light is asking for $10. And with that, we're moving on to an interesting idea to put the Hall of Armor and the Grand Central Station below Lego's new Avengers Tower, so the 76269. And what actually this designer has done is throw in 4 Avengers sets, basically, I guess, to get a couple of the pieces, but also minifigures, accessoires, stuff like that. And then I think you have to throw in additional 1,100 pieces. So yeah, the main work is not done by these 4 sets, but the main work is done by 1,100 pieces that you have to throw in yourself. But then you have a much more well-rounded Avengers Tower, I do believe. Actually, I'm not even sure this whole Central Station thing. I mean, it's a thing from the comic books, right? You Marvel fans, please keep me honest here, but I'm saying in the cinematic universe, I don't know. Could you see this in one of the later movies in this whole let's go back in time scene? Could you see the Central Station here? Because next to that, at least in the Avengers, in the original movie, where of course this tower has a lot of screen time, I can't recall seeing the station. So I'm not sure if this is a cinematic universe thing. But what I can say is that this looks so much cooler now. I mean, look at this. I mean, you have this whole Iron Man thing in there, which of course makes no sense whatsoever, but it looks pretty cool. And with that, we're moving on to a forest hideout by the Brick Cave, who has actually used the 40567, the gift with purchase. I think, yeah, one of the most popular ones of recent years that Lego has done. And he's throwing in 231 extra pieces, basically changing the entire look. I guess you don't have to do it like this. For instance, he used here like more an autumn vibe with yellow limb elements, etc., etc. So I guess you don't have to do this. In this case, I guess you need less additional pieces. You could even still use the blue roof instead of the red one. But in general, an alternate build, a pimped alternate build, if you will, that actually has an entirely different look. So especially, I think, if you have multiple of these gift with purchases and say, okay, I don't want to build three times the same one, give it a slightly different look, or maybe even have next to Forest Man, or maybe I'm not a Forest Man guy and my childhood has been more around the wolf pack, then of course this could be yours as well. With that, we're moving on to Grace Church from New York City from Pontus Game and MOCs, 1,106 pieces. That's a lot. $17 for the instruction. I guess that's the least of your problems if you have to purchase 1,100 Lego pieces individually. Really great church, great building techniques. My apologies. Great building techniques. I mean, it's almost typical architecture vibe, but I mean, look at these window work. This is amazing, and I think, I'm not sure. I mean, in general, yes, with these colored windows, lighting would be amazing. On the other hand, you have a lot of open spaces in the walls, so I guess a lot of light is coming out of places where you don't want it to. Obviously, you could, work with black paper, stuff like that. To make sure that the light is coming out only out of the colored windows. This could be an idea, but all in all, nevertheless, great design. What I also really like, and unfortunately we can see them only very small, I also really like the trees. I mean, architecture size, in quotes, trees like 1:500 scale and stuff, or 1:300, is not easy. And sometimes, especially the Lego architecture sets, almost always use very similar building techniques. And these here look quite interesting, using limb elements as far as I can tell, and using this 3-leaf element. And they look all pretty nice. Unfortunately, on the pictures, you can't see them. So this could be also an interesting manual to buy just to get your hands on the building techniques. Anyhow, with that, moving on to another modification of the Natural History Museum, which from my point of view is a set that, lacks a lot of detail, especially on the upper floor. On the inside, I think it's pretty naked. I've already built it, but yeah, like I said, from my point of view, it's missing. A lot, actually. It's missing basically 1,000 pieces. And this is actually what BlueBrixx has done. Throw in only 877 pieces. It looks like a lot more, so I'm not sure about this one. But this is what Rubricable is saying, 877 pieces, you get additional room, more detail, you get a second dinosaur, so all in all you get basically the same but more. And actually also from a size perspective it looks really impressive, so a great idea. In fact, I've built the National History Museum. Next step for me, as always with all my modulars, is lighting, but after that I'm actually considering maybe if I can get my hands on a National History Museum on a discount to throw in a second one and make this thing just more bigger and more detailed. But if that is not for you, this here could be actually a bit cheaper because you need much less pieces and not an entire second set. And then we come to one of my highlights of this week by Jaki, another micro diorama. And oh boy, this designer is doing an amazing job. 1,375 pieces, just $5 for the instruction manual. And this is best been done right. We even have a couple of interesting micro builds, a really beautiful micro build Millennium Falcon. Not sure if he has done, he or she, I actually don't know who's behind that name, has done this micro build before, but I think it's really cool. I mean, this is how the Falcon should look like. Should go in this size, go very well with, I don't know, an UCS Star Destroyer maybe. This could be interesting, right? Maybe it's too big for that. But yeah, really, really cool. Also, the Slave 1 looks really amazing. Great micro build. I mean, these $5 could be worthwhile just for the 2 micro builds already, but Bespin also looks really, really cool. I mean, it's not exactly the color scheme I remember, but it definitely looks cool. And I also do believe it's not really entirely up to scale for the nanofix that have been built here, but I guess that's okay. I guess for the Slave 1 it's okay. For the Falcon looks slightly too small in my point of view. The rest is fine, but I think the Falcon should be slightly bigger. That's my gut feeling. Anyhow, amazing design. Looks so cool. With that, we're moving on to Lego Mocklock. Actually, one of the pricier designers, or designs from a designer that are usually a bit more pricey. I think he also has a Patreon that he uses to finance his design work. But anyhow, you can buy now a Barat Duo as an all-in-one package. That's 17,693 pieces. Don't underestimate this thing. I mean, just if you look, this is more than 4 large base plates. It's 90 by 90 centimeters basically, and 1.60 meters in height. So this does not go on a regular shelf. Anyhow, he's asking for $92. That's a lot. Like I said, on the other hand, it's 18,000 pieces almost. So first of all, that's a lot of work that went into the instructions, A. And B, if you need 18,000 Lego pieces, $90 is the least of your problems. But great design, always like this. I've never been a fan of the 2 towers from a design perspective because it's all black. So yeah, I don't know. Black is always a complicated color in my point of view in bricks because then they always look weird. Even the Lego ones, and Lego is doing some of the best black pieces, but also if you look at Cobi, yeah, black is always a problematic color. And of course, dust is going to be an issue. Plus, I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at a bunch of black. So not really my thing, but I think amazing work by Lego Mocklock. And this is also a highlight of this week. Bertil has done Excalibur. 5,950 pieces, which is basically a 7840, the Apocalypse Burg. Apocalypse Burg. Burg is actually a German word. Maybe it's also in Danish. I'm not sure. Burg is German for castle, but I guess in a couple of other European languages as well. Anyhow, he has done something with Excalibur, so it's castle themed. There are a lot of design elements from the current castle sets in there, like from the Creator 3-in-1, right? If you look at the tower, and it's just amazing work. The sword is just beautiful. I guess these are metallic silver pieces and metallic gold, which looks amazing. And yeah, it's absolutely great. Love the chain work here, like the chainmail stuff is so cool. And the overall vibe of this thing is just amazing. If this is your cup of tea, right? It's a bit of a weird mix of fiction and apocalypse, I guess is the right pronunciation, right? And castle. So, but yeah, as always, very creative work by Bertil. And with that, we're moving on by Brick Kaiser. Kaiser is actually German for emperor. The modular winter ice hockey ring. And yeah, I mean, it has the Technic pin connection. So the idea is, like the name suggests, that you throw this in with your with your modular buildings. It needs only 1,343 pieces. It's a relatively simple build, but it's pretty cool. It's straightforward. And for those of you who want to, you know, especially and during the winter season, spice things up a little bit, this could be an easy one to throw in, right? But I mean, 1,300 pieces is not, you know, it's not such a small number, but all in all, I really like it. The idea is to have this as a corner build. However, I'm pretty sure you can easily adapt this to throw this also in between buildings. But if you look at the connections, the idea is to have this as a corner. I'm actually not sure. I mean, I've not been a modular building collector for such a long time. I don't know what the current situation is if you count all the corner buildings together, you know, what you can actually do with the line. But I mean, there are of course a lot of alternate instructions here on Rubricable as well to basically transform every corner modular into a straight one. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to a pretty large one. Actually, this thing says it has only 4,168 pieces. However, the description says 8,190, which actually looks a lot more realistic. So that's why I'm not 100% sure what has happened here. But yeah, it's like I said, 8,000 looks much more accurate. And yeah, it's Mospalgo with Mando and Copvant from Sereno 90. And it's again, beautiful design, pretty cool building techniques. I think this is exactly the Tatooine direction I would go for when it comes to the brick design. An interesting mix of masonry and non-masonry bricks. There's a lot of plates in the walls, 1x1, 1x2 plates, different versions, round ones, regular ones, masonry bricks. So it's a good, I mean, that is not uncommon. We see this building technique a lot. However, it's not easy in practice, and I speak from experience, to actually mix this up in a way that actually looks good. There's always a high risk that it looks quite awful. But it's very well done here. Looks really, really good. And it's also a nice color mix of tan and dark tan. And there's also a little bit of dark red thrown in here, which I think is really amazing. So yeah, this could be an interesting one. I mean, it's $15 for the instructions, but this could be interesting not just to build it, but maybe as an alternative even just to, you know, peek a bit into the building techniques and maybe use this for your own mock work. This could be interesting as well. With that, we're moving on to a build by LegoFan21, 5,950 pieces required for the undercover police station, for €12 for the instruction. And my understanding is this is from a game, from the video game Lego City Undercover, which I've never played, but I mean, for those of you who like to build these large city-style MOCs, this thing's of course pretty cool. It's I guess one of the largest modern city-style like police stations on Rubricable. And yeah, pretty well done, very detailed, a lot of tiles in there. I mean, it's still a modern police station, so obviously in reality they don't look very exciting, and so this MOC doesn't either. But yeah, if that is your cup of tea, here you go. And then I always, with so many MOCs this week, I want to say it's my absolute favorite of this week, but they're all great. And this one here is by Rich Herbert, hardware store and apartment renovation, and you have to buy $12, pay $12. My apologies again. And quite frankly, in a nutshell, first, two things. First, I have no idea how this designer did this with just 3,149 pieces. It looks like a lot more. It looks like a 4,000 piece modular. So I have no idea how this was done. But for the 3,149 pieces, it looks exactly like every Lego modular should look like, in my point of view. This is a summary here. I guess the way this designer managed this with the piece count is that the building is a little bit shallow, if you will, right? Just from the general design. So obviously there's a lot less space, if you will. And this is, I think, how this designer managed to do this with the smaller piece count. In my point of view, this is the way it should be. If whatever the price point is, this is the amount of pieces. Get this as detailed as possible. That's my personal point of view. However, you could also argue, and you look at the Natural History Museum now, okay, let's go bigger, and then we have a lot of space. We can basically modify this, right? Make this our own. And the Natural History Museum, from my point of view, is just an invitation to do your own stuff, because the building itself is absolutely boring on the inside, because there's just not enough stuff in there. And this is actually what Rich Herbert has done here, which I really like. There's so much detail, so much stuff to discover. There's not one stud that shouldn't be like this. So this is a really cool design. It needs stickers or it needs prints, I guess. But next to that, it is a beautiful design. With that, the last thing to say is I hope you did like the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or wherever you listen to this, as for you podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple. Like, comment, subscribe, follow. I'm really interested, A, in your feedback, and B, of course, giving a good rating, a good or a like here and there is really helping me out, and it's not going to cost you anything. With that, thanks for listening. See you next week.